Rev up your engines!
Well, it's now official. The Toyota Avalon is dead. They're not going to be making them anymore. Now, the flagship sedan of Toyota, the Avalon, was supposed to be refreshed in the second half of next year. Toyota company said that the Toyota manufacturer in Kentucky will end output of the Avalon. They're not going to make them anymore. Well, it only kind of makes sense because people are buying SUVs, not cars anymore. The high point of the Avalon was in the year 2000 when they sold over 100,000 of them. Realize that the first half of 2021, they only sold 10,000, so that would be 20,000 a year, which is 1/5 of their high point. People aren't buying sedans. They're great vehicles, powerful, fun to drive. I rented one for my son's wedding in Boston years ago. It was a nice car, but sedans aren't popular anymore. If they're only selling 20,000 a year in the United States, it doesn't behoove them to even build the things anymore. It's not enough volume. People don't want sedans, especially luxury sedans, in big volumes. There's always a few people who want them, but just a business decision on Toyota's behalf. And they usually make pretty good business decisions, I gotta say. They look forward. They just don't stomp it here like Tesla. I'm gonna make luxury electric cars. Only so many people are gonna buy luxury electric cars, and when the market dries up, there goes the company. Toyota? No. If it's not profitable, they generally get rid of it. That's why they don't make the Toyota Supra. It's a BMW. BMW makes it. They put no money in it. They don't build them. They don't sell that many of them, but it doesn't cost them anything because they're not even making them themselves. So you want to have a sports car? Have somebody else build it for you. Now, I don't think that's such a good idea for your own name, but economically it makes sense. SSP28 says, Scotty, you often say cars built in Japan are better for whatever reason. Japanese workers are more meticulous, etc. What exactly are Japanese doing that makes their engine trannies run for $300,000 to $400,000 versus Americans running for $200,000? Well, a lot of American cars, you're lucky if you get 100,000 of them today, but before they really start breaking down, they have problems. It's a cultural thing. The Japanese plan decades and decades ahead. It's a completely different society. When I go to university, I studied some of the Japanese industrial systems, and it's just a completely different mindset that they have than the Americans do. Americans want short-term profit. Years ago, a friend of my father's, I was talking to him, he was a big wig in the company, and he said, we Americans are never going to build cars like the Japanese. It's not possible with our system because of the way it's designed for profit and make things cheaper to make more money and try to cut everything to the chase so you can make them cheaper and sell them for more money, where it's a completely different mindset. Things aren't tested out correctly over time. Look at the new Ford Bronco. The tops are ripping when they're 4 months old now. They didn't make them right. They didn't design them correctly. Where the Japanese, they'll test things out for years and years and then bring them out. And sure, like anybody else, the Japanese make mistakes every once in a while, but they learn from their mistakes. They don't just keep making them in the search of, we need our stock to go up the next quarter. We got to cut some costs here. When I was on TV years ago in Houston, the guys running the station, every once in a while, they cut a bunch of costs and it made the stock go up of the company, right? But you can see in the long run, well, that's bad because now the product stinks and the product's worse than it was. And of course, in the end, it bit them in a butt and it went right back down again because their reports were getting weaker because they were paying their reporters less. It's just a vicious spiral. In the short term, yeah, they made the stock go up for a few weeks, but then it came plummeting down when they realized the only reason they were more profitable is because they cut a lot of costs and now their product is garbage. The Japanese don't go that way. Geisen says, do catalytic converters serve an actual purpose? It seems the engines are super efficient and completely burning the fuel. With that said, do catalytic converters serve an actual purpose in cleaning the exhaust? Or is a leftover relic from days of dirtier engines? They do serve a purpose. You're never going to get total, complete combustion. Here's the kicker. Engines run more efficiently as they run hotter. That's why, if you know anything about diesel generators, they generally have pretty hot thermostats to run hot because they're more efficient and they make more power and burn less fuel. But of course, an engine that runs hotter creates more pollutants. It's like a catch-22. Well, we want to make engines that are efficient, but they can't pollute at the same time. So it's like a cat chasing its tail. They're running around in a mad circle. They still need catalytic converters. Now, the only purpose of a catalytic converter is to burn hydrocarbons to make your car not pollute. It serves no other purpose. Places where they don't check them, like Montana and stuff, God, it's just take them off and drive them around without them on. And they will run better. Less nonsense for the gas to go through so it can flow better, but they do serve a purpose. Even the modern cars, doesn't matter how efficient they are, they need them because they are running hotter to get better gas mileage, so they'll pollute more because they are running hotter, and then you got to get rid of the excess of the pollution. Easy 23 says, says, Scotty, is it cheaper to get a new transmission and engine than to get it rebuilt? Well, here is the conundrum. What do you mean by cheaper? Now, of course, it's almost always going to cost you less to get an engine and transmission rebuilt. That's your upfront cost. If you want to keep a vehicle for years and years and years, you're much better getting a new transmission and engine. You're going to pay a lot more, but it's going to last and last a lot longer. I've had people get engines and transmissions rebuilt, and all they get is like a 1-year warranty. If it breaks after 2 years, you're back to square one. You get a brand new engine or a brand new transmission, you should get years and years and years of use. You'll pay more, of course, to get new ones. But if you're planning on keeping it forever, or let's say you got one and you want to go as cheap as possible, and maybe you'll use it a little, or maybe you'll sell it on and get rid of it. Then, of course, if you're a gambling man or woman, like rolling those dice, get a used one from the junkyard and pray it works and then get rid of the thing. You're going to get nothing for a car that either the engine doesn't run or the tranny doesn't shift, but if you put a used one and it runs, you get a lot more money for the vehicle. So it all depends on what you're planning on doing with the vehicle. But in the long run, new is always better if you want to keep a vehicle for a really long time. See how 1615 says, I got an 05 Buick Sabre, 170,000 miles. The heater core isn't putting out heat. It has hot coolant going in it. My mechanic said, put some Mr. Clean and dry for a couple of weeks to eat away the clog. Is that safe for the rest of the engine? No, do not do that. That's no. You don't want some kind of cleaner running in your system. You know, it might eat away the head gasket, ruin your water pump seals. Who knows what it could do, right? Flush it back and forth and back and forth. See if that helps. Now, if that doesn't help, there is a thing you can do. Connect the two heater hoses. Take them off of the heater under the hood by the firewall. Connect them together with little connector and clamps so it flows, right? Then the heater core itself, you would get a couple of hoses to stick in them, and you could fill it with a good cleaner. You want something even better than that? I found that one that people use their bathtubs and stuff that is a real strong cleaner that gets rid of mold and it gets rid of scale, any of those scale cleaners. You'd fill just the heater core with it, pouring it in those little hoses, and then cap those little hoses and let it soak in for a few days. It's no longer connected to the rest of the system. It's not going to hurt anything. Then, after it's been in there a few days, then flush it back and forth with a garden hose and then reconnect it to the system. I've seen that work, but don't put cleaner in and drive your car around. That's not a good idea. You want it cleaner in it when it's no longer connected to the system, and sometimes that will work. Well, here we go with an unhappy viewer, and I agree with him. Eric Fisher says, I bought a 2019 Toyota Tundra with a towing package. It says on the sticker the towing package comes with engine and transmission coolers. Well, I was getting ready to drain and fill the transmission fluid and found there is no cooler. I went to the dealership and they told me to kick rocks, basically. It's Ball Toyota in Charleston, West Virginia. Would love for you to give a shout out. Okay, here I am shouting out. I mean, that's unbelievable. If on your sticker it says you have a transmission cooler and you don't have a transmission cooler and you bought that expensive Tundra 1794 edition with a towing package, that's made in San Antonio, Texas, you should have gotten a cooler. It says you're going to get a cooler. Well, hey, let's stick it to them now. The ball's in your court. You told the man he had something he didn't, and will they do something about it? By law, if they say they're giving you something, they're supposed to give it to you. It was on the paperwork there that says you got that, and you didn't. They should customize and put a transmission cooler on it for you. Alaskan Ray says, I got a 2018 Toyota 4Runner. Winter's coming in Alaska. I have Blizzaks, and I want to get studded tires. I'm thinking about getting Nokia and Hakas 9s. Is that a good tire for my 4Runner? Or are the Blizzaks just fine? If yours still have a lot of tread on them, it depends on what's it like exactly where you drive. Studded tires are for ice, to grip the ice. You don't need it for snow. You need it for ice. Do you get a lot of ice? Does it melt and then freeze? If they do, yeah, get studded tires. If not, I'd stick with the tires that you had. You know, the thing that you're dealing with in Alaska is if you do get ice, snow, you're not going high speeds. Basically, any of the tires you buy are going to be pretty good tires to last. The problem with tires is high speed rating. If you get a lower price tire, it won't be that good at high speeds because it wasn't made for high speeds. But with snow and ice, I'm sure you're not doing 140 miles an hour. So any tire that's got good tread depths on it is going to be good for you in Alaska as long as it's well built. You don't have to worry about the heat building up from high speeds and all the stresses are going real fast because you're not going to be going that fast in Alaska, especially when it's snowing and icing. But if you do get a lot of ice, yeah, studded tires, then go ahead and get whatever studded tires suitable for your driving. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.